Frank only wants to listen to Rush.
I love.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Geek Spot News, episode 182.
It's a lot.
That's a lot of episodes.
It's a lot.
So look, if we ever miss a week, there is plenty of back catalog to go catch up on, where we talk about all of the things that have happened all of the weeks.
One day we'll have thumbnails and video stuff.
That sounds excessive, but probably we might have that at some point. I'm Jack. This is Frank. Here to catch you up on all the latest. Frank watched some things. I watched some things. We watched some of the same things.
Yes, and that's Charles. Hi, Charles.
Had to happen at some point. So that's where we're at. So hey, Frank, what have you been up to, man? It feels like it's almost summer finally. The rain is not around today, which is nice.
Yeah, but the pool isn't around either yet, so it doesn't feel like summer yet. That's having some pool issues, plus the weather, What's been up? Hockey, Doctor Who, and now I can watch The Big Bang Theory and not feel bad about watching an episode because I didn't watch a Doctor Who episode, and it feels good.
That it's got to be freeing for you.
It did. And when more people show up, I'll show you the little thing that Matt brought me back from Vegas on his Vegas vacation.
Nice when he got to go see punk rock bowling, a little social distortion, a little,
Oh God, he had the best night. Friend of his came into money and just threw it around.
Even better.
Yes, it was. Bottle service, Matt.
Oh.
Bottle service, Matt, must have been fun. Champagne and vodka.
I'll never understand bottle service.
I get bottle service at every bar I go to. They give me a beer and a bottle.
Yeah, I'll never understand it.
I did go out, actually. I actually went out to a bar.
To see me play?
Oh. No, you're not close. I keep looking. You post where you're at, and then when I'm ready to go somewhere, I look and I'm like, that's like an hour away. Yeah, I love you, but oh God, I'll talk to you on Monday. No, I went to the Ashburner. Our friend Jimmy's husband Mark turned 51. So Friday night I went with Matt. We went out and just, had a couple drinks and chilled. No, not a real late night. I think I was home by 11.
So that's fun. I played somewhere Friday. I don't remember where, but I know that I did. I played at a new place out in, it was a late night. It was 8 to 10.
Bought a new hockey stick on Saturday.
Nice.
No, they're expensive. $150 is a lot for a hockey stick.
Is it? Can't you just make one?
Well,
Can you whittle?
I can't whittle yet, but I have to get the curve right, and the flex has to be just right. And the first time in a while, I actually paid attention to the curve and the flex on the stick. Way the stick bends when you take the shot.
Yeah.
There's stiffnesses.
Yeah.
I'm doing the hand motions also.
I feel like you're in an episode of The Office right now.
There's stiffnesses.
Yeah.
You're supposed to do like your weight divided by 2 and your height all calculates into the
rigidness of the shaft.
The flex of the shaft.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what they tell me and what I like are two different things. I don't like 110 flex. That's too stiff. I like something with a little more give. You
like a shaft with some give to it.
I like between a 70 and an 80. No, not inches. I like between a 77 and an 85 flex with a P28 curve.
Got it.
I just said a whole bunch of words and all you hear are dick jokes.
Yeah. Yeah. They were there just on repeat.
They were.
It was delightful. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. That's what I did. And played hockey Sunday morning. And then I have hockey tonight at 9:30, hockey tomorrow night at a time I don't remember. And then I think it's possible that I have a game Wednesday and Friday, but I definitely have a game Thursday. So above all else, I have Monday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, then Sunday.
That sounds like a lot of hockey.
It is a lot of hockey. There's a lot of hockey. What about you?
You know, played a couple gigs. My kid had his big rock band concert on Saturday, where the kid that wants to go see like Imagine Dragons and Fall Out Boy was singing Ozzy Osbourne and System of a Down all night and Typo Negative. So
Nice.
that was cool. Got to go enjoy that. Like I said, played a couple gigs. A lot of other end of year school stuff here and there. Watched some shows. Got a chance to binge a whole bunch of Office.
Yay.
Talk about that. I don't think either one of us went to see the Karate Kid Legends.
Not yet. I'm waiting for it to hit the Plex.
Yeah, I'm not going to, and I don't know that we will ever talk about it on this podcast. So if you did want to hear a review of Karate Kid Legends, the Ace Avenue put up a great review.
Yes.
That might be a little more Jack leaning than Frank leaning.
Yeah, it's not.
So it's possible.
It's not getting the greatest. I do not want to be spoiled yet. I haven't determined
There's
whether or
nothing
not
to
I'm going
spoil.
to
It's
watch
a Karate Kid movie. Guess what?
The Karate.
There's a
Mid,
karate tournament. A kid learns karate,
He said
and
it's
he fights in a tournament.
Look, he said it's the Karate Mid.
Oh yeah, I listened to Dom's review today. That's why I made sure that I wanted to talk it up because it was very well done.
Okay.
And I recommend anybody that wants to hear about the Karate Mid, go check out Ace Avenue's review from this week, because the movie is there's a lot of baiting and switching from what I understand in said movie. That's where that movie's at. So I probably will see it sometime in 2026, probably before the next season of The Last of Us comes out.
Definitely before the next Who season, apparently.
We'll get
I'm
there,
actually excited to talk about that in a little bit.
I'm excited for you to talk about it in a little bit.
I am.
And that was it though. Not a crazy busy week with stuff. So a couple new trailers dropped again. New One Piece tease dropped. New Peacemaker tease dropped. All sorts of things we'll get to in the news, but I think we have lists.
We have a list. We're going to see how this one goes. As always, I don't read ahead of time. I like the in-moment reactions. This is another one on Screen Rant. This was published March 31st, 2025, so it's about 2 months ago. 3 months ago? Okay. It's okay, though. It's these 10 TV shows started out great, then went downhill fast. We'll see how many of these I saw. These lists are also fun.
Again, seems a little too early of an article for The Last of Us to be added. Yeah. So, unfortunately, that will not be at number 1 on the list where it should be.
It's at number 1 for me. But at number 10 is a show that aired on... once again, now HBO Max from 2014 to 2019, Silicon Valley.
I made it through the first episode and then never dove back in.
I believe I did almost the exact same thing.
I thought the first episode was okay. I just wasn't. No. I think that was it. You had to watch it when it came out and enjoy the zeitgeist. Yeah. And it was like a later binge just doesn't really hold up.
Matt, as soon as we get through this list, I'm going to show you a little present I haven't shown him yet. Coming in at number 9 on the BBC network from 2010 to 2017, Sherlock.
Oh, I disagree with that. That was strong all the way through.
Okay. I did not watch it. Shockingly, I did not watch it. I'm technically 0 for 2.
Yeah, Series 3 did have some questionable decisions, but it was still it still held up.
Okay. Coming in at number 8, I did see, and I agree 1,000%, unfortunately, this aired on NBC twice from 2006 to 2010. Actually, just once.
Yeah, the writer's strike may have impacted this show. I have a feeling I know what it is.
It is Heroes.
Yeah.
And my God, what a great first season. I mean, I was all in on the first season.
See, I'll say the third season actually was good.
It came back around in the third.
The second season was rough.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're talking about reviving it in some way.
For a third time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Heroes Reborn, nothing was good about Heroes Reborn.
No, it wasn't. Coming in at number 7, this is a show that also aired on HBO Max from 2016 to 2022 that I never went back after the first season, so I missed the downfall of Westworld.
I watched. I don't know that I did either. I think I started the second season. Was like, I don't have the bandwidth to understand anything that's going on.
This was a real like thought-provoking show, and I just at the time didn't want a thought-provoking show. I just wanted something quick. I probably rewatched Friday Night Lights.
Westworld felt like work.
Yes, it did.
Like it was good, but like I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I feel like they're gonna get somewhere, and they never really did.
It was a long time. It was season 1 in 2016, had an 87% Rotten Tomatoes. Then you had to wait 4 years for season 2, and it went down to 85. Then 2 years for season 3 at 73%. And season 4 got it back up a little bit to 74.
That was the start of the shit show of these long delays between seasons.
Yeah. So I'll agree. I definitely agree with that one. At number 6 on the BBC, also from 2018 to 2022, Killing Eve. It's not a show I ever would have watched because I'm not a big Sandra Oh fan.
Season 1 was fantastic. Season 2 was solid.
Okay.
Season 3 I never got around to watching because I was out of it by the end of season 2.
Fair. At number 5 on Showtime from 2006 to 2013, Dexter. Never watched it.
No, I didn't hear that it dropped in quality though, but that I also did not have Showtime during that stretch.
Fair.
So I did not dive into the Dexter or the latest Dexter Resurrection or the Dexter finale or any of the Dexters.
Just a brief glance at this little blurb about it, and it's basically season 6 sucked, but season 7 kind of got a little bit of an improvement, but I didn't watch it.
Then I don't know if it fits the list, but you know how these list writers do.
Yeah. At number 4, it does not give an actual place where it did air. From 2009 to 2013, Misfits.
I don't remember Misfits.
Neither do I. Iwan Rehan was on it. He played Bolton on Game of Thrones.
Yeah, Misfits was on. Looks like a sci-fi network show based on the poster. Would be my guess.
Okay.
It was a BBC show. That's why it won 3 BAFTAs.
Gotcha.
So I don't know that it ever aired in the U.S. other than on Hulu.
That's fair. Right now, you can watch it on Hulu, Peacock, and Apple TV. But okay, didn't watch it. Number 3, I did watch it, and it was a real struggle to get through it. But I did for the show, for content from 2019 to 2024, The Umbrella Academy.
Speaking of The Umbrella Academy,
yes.
What's his name? Weird dude. Lars Van.
Okay.
Him. You know who I mean? The guy that was always dead.
Sure.
He was in Misfits.
Oh.
For 15 episodes. So
there you go.
The Umbrella Academy 100% went down. Klaus. That's who. Klaus. Yeah.
Yeah. So it went from in 2019. It's not all of these have this, but this one does. It was a 77% in its first season, which is crazy. Then it went in 2020. It went to 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. 2022 stayed at 91, and then season 4 got 55.
Yeah, look, the last season of that show was awful. It was like, how many bad decisions can you cram into one episode or one season of television?
This is just leading into the next segment at number 2. It aired on the NBC network from 2005 to 2013, and my good friend Jack is slogging through season 7 right now. The Office is at number 2.
Look, I'll tell you, spoiler for soon. the end of season 7 is less shitty than the first 6 and 3
That's
or 7
fair.
seasons.
That's fair. I'm excited to talk about that, but holding in at the number 1 spot, TV shows that started off great and went downhill fast, airing on HBO from 2011 to 2019, is the Game of Thrones. I have to agree.
Yeah. It's another one where they didn't know what to do, and it got
No.
too big for its own good, and how do you wrap all that up?
That wasn't a bad list. That was actually a pretty good list.
No, yeah, look, that my first podcast with you in 2018,
God, so long ago.
um, back, I believe that was episode. It was your like 3rd year of your podcast. I think it was episode like 7.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
was talking about the season 8 of Game of Thrones, I believe.
Have we done more shows of this together than we did it with the Rockets together?
No.
All right,
I did like 600 shows with the Rockets in those 500 shows with the Rockets in those 2 years.
We're getting there. All right, so this is what Matt got brought me back from Vegas. This is one.
Oh, that is fantastic.
It's airbrushed or spray paint. I forget. He'll tell. That's one.
Watercolor R2D2. It looks like.
That's 2.
That's a black and white Yoda with a Beats-ish headphones with an Andor symbol on them and some sunglasses for our audio listeners. And finally, a super cool watercolor Darth Vader.
These are fantastic. Spray paint. Okay. So the guy that did them, give that guy a plug, is
KLMart00 on Instagram, KLMartTV, Space TV on YouTube, and urbanartlv.com.
Yeah. I gotta get a little frames and I'll put them up behind me, but it was a very, very, very nice thing for Matt to do. It was awesome.
That must have been after the 3rd bottle of the bottle service.
Yes, that definitely was probably just right after he was done being champagne sick.
There you go.
Which is one of the worst kinds of sick you can be.
I've heard that.
Yeah. So before we get to the news stuff,
I'll hit a couple shows before I drive Dom away with The Office, because I did dig pretty heavy into this end of season. I almost finished the whole season, but I stopped myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I didn't have to talk about 37 freaking episodes of these 29 episode seasons. But again, for anybody that joined later, Karate Kid, we did not go see the new Karate Kid, but go check out our boy Dom on D-Ace Avenue and check out his review if you decide to go sit through that
movie,
I guess you can call it.
I haven't seen it yet. I know there's an end credit scene and all that, and I don't want to know right now.
Yeah, look, again, there's nothing to spoil, and there's no spoilers. I listened to a full couple spoiler-filled reviews because I'm not gonna watch it anytime soon.
Maybe if I don't find a way to see it this weekend, maybe I'll watch Dom's review and then dig a little deeper, and we can talk about it Monday.
We both need a Mission Impossible at first.
I do want to see that. I still have 2 movies left to go.
There you go. So, couple other shows. I've been talking about Hacks all season. Finale was last week. Go watch Hacks. Gene Smart and Hannah Einbinder will definitely be nominated for Emmys again for it. And 100% deserved. The finale, Gene Smart is doing like some of the best work of her career still. Wow.
Jeez. That's how I'm going to watch it, Dom.
That's fantastic. Dom says it was so bad he watched it on a third-party website for free and still didn't get his money's worth.
Wow.
It's amazing. So I will say Hacks, just so good. I was questioning at the beginning of the season, but it really, really came in strong towards the end. And like I said, just some of the stuff that Gene Smart's doing on that show is amazing. And it already got picked up for another season. So season 5 will be out.
Nice.
Well before season 3 of The Last of Us, which I will do a correction for myself from last week. I had read in some article that the viewership did not drop dramatically. That was an erroneous statement for sure, because from what I understand, the viewership of this season went from like 8 million for episode 2 down to 3 million for the finale.
Ooh, ooh,
So big
that's a
drop
big.
off. I
That's a big.
seriously doubt it gets to season 4.
No way. They'll definitely
Um,
give it a season 4.
you know what? I don't think they will, because it's not cheap. And I think a lot of the reasons that everybody loved the game, that played the game,
Mhm.
was because you don't have a choice but to be invested in the characters because you're playing as them.
Right.
In
That's
the
fair.
show, I don't like any of them. Like I don't have a reason to want to follow their journey because I don't like them. When you're playing the game, right? You're the character. So like you're invested in it, like, all right, well, let's play through this and see where the story goes. I don't want to watch through the story. I want to play through the story.
Right.
Because the story, when you take out the video game component, is really short. It's like 3 episodes, right? But instead, we're gonna drag it out into multiple seasons here, which is wild. And I don't think it's easy enough to follow. Like I don't know they did enough to
Right.
bring viewers back to watch Abby for a full season. The 7 minutes maybe that she was on screen this season is not enough for an average viewer that doesn't know anything about the game to be like, oh, I want to know her backstory, because they already told us her whole motivation right away. In the
Right.
game, you don't know it yet. They've already given away on the TV show the end of the game and all of the
Oof.
reveals throughout the game. They already did them. So like now there's no reason to go, oh, I wonder what drove Abbott. No, nobody cares.
Right.
You already know.
Unlike the Wheel of Time, where you don't know what's going on, you don't know why any of this stuff is
Oh
happening,
God, yeah,
and you're
we'll
not
get
going
there.
to know.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm sad about that one too.
Poker Face I've been talking about, probably its weakest episode this season, but it was kid focused. And Natasha Lyonne and kids, not a great combo.
No.
No, she's not super kid friendly. Um,
Fair.
but the show's still good. Just a weak episode this week. And then Dead City, a Walking Dead show. It is cranked up. It actually, last season was only 6 episodes. This season they're all just finished episode 5, and they're doing some great work. Your boy from Sons of Anarchy, Kim Coates,
Oh, I
is
like
on
him.
this season, and he's
Nice.
great.
He's awesome.
Um, yeah, the cast for Dead City is a lot of ringers from other shows that you've watched specifically. A lot more of the alum from Sons of Anarchy and that kind of stuff have been pulling in this season. Zelcho Ivanek, I don't know how you
Mhm.
say his name. You'd know him from everything.
Right.
Has been a big player in it. Um, some Madam Secretary. He was in True Blood. He was in all the things. He's super creepy.
Gotcha.
Um, he's been fantastic both seasons of this show. He's been a bigger player this season. And yeah, I recommend going and digging into that. It's an easy watch. And Jeffrey D. Morgan's getting to lean into being Negan again, but like a little bit different take than he got to do on The Walking Dead. So I
Oh, I know
understand why
him.
they're taking it on him. Yeah, like I said, there's the thing with this. There's a lot of cast members, and the Dama, the character or woman that plays the Dama, Lisa Emery. She was in Ozark. She was the crazy heroin opium
Yep.
farmer.
Yep. I'm looking
Um,
at that now. Oh, I know who Pearly is too.
do you? Where's he from?
Friday Night Lights.
There you go. Look at
He's
that. Look at
he's the
all of the
Smash.
Frank connections in Dead
He's,
City.
he's the Smash, dude. He was
So
the
yeah,
running back. He was great.
yeah. Look, Dead City's doing
Okay.
really good work.
Yeah,
Uh,
a lot of these people look familiar, but the first few, yeah. Oh wow.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's
So it's
awesome.
been great. Um, that's where we're at there. So all right,
Yeah.
we'll hit what some people have said on this show is the worst show ever put on TV.
I love this show.
Um, Not me. I didn't say that. But
Mm-mm.
it might have been in the chat already tonight. Um, so and I might not totally disagree, but I was not the one that said it. So trying to burn through getting rid of Michael Scott finally, so we can move on through this damn show. Burn through a couple episodes. I'm not going to go deep on him because I did hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
There's
6.
one that I want to talk a minute about, but go ahead.
We'll dig in. So we get the first one. Todd Packers decided to come off the road. So this was a just burner waste of an episode.
Yep. Yep.
Just to get him off the show and give him a send off before you sent off Michael Scott. Steve Carell is what I think. Like, I completely forgot that Tim Oliphant was on this show because they have never mentioned him again.
Nope, they haven't.
Until this episode for like 30 seconds. And then you get Packer in the office being completely Packer.
Yep.
You realize Pam is still just a horrible human being.
Why? Just because she got Aaron a new computer?
And then she wants a cookie for getting Aaron a new computer. She's like, here's something nice, but I need a cookie for it.
Yeah.
And then you get the back and forth with Packer and Dwight, which is all right. But, everybody wants a new computer now. So Aaron gives her to Andy, because why not?
Well,
then Pam makes Andy give it back.
As
And
she should.
then they go and they box damage out a computer that comes in, so it looks like they found it on a shelf in the warehouse, which Daryl knows is BS, and calls Pam out on being awful at her job, as we should. Holly doesn't understand why Michael likes Todd so much. Here's where this gets a little bit dated, though. So Holly does this funny scale. Her top of her funny scale is Bill Cosby, then Steve Martin, then Charlie bit my finger.
Yeah.
So little dated.
A little bit.
Doesn't hold up there, which I thought was funny. Dwight and Jim decide to randomly team up against Packer, which could have been good. You get a Justin Bieber versus Justice Beaver reference, which doesn't hold up time-wise either, but it's fine.
Crime Fighting Beaver.
Then Jim and Dwight get stopped by Michael from tricking Packer into going to Florida, and then Packer goes into Michael's office, bashes Holly. Michael then joins in and sends Packer off to Florida, which I guess works somehow, even though there's no job for him, but he just doesn't come back in the next 5 episodes.
Okay.
So that episode's finally done. And we get Garage Sale, which was also a complete burner waste of an episode.
Look, there was some really funny stuff in Garage Sale.
Look, the recurring Magic Beans thing was actually well done.
That was the funny part of Garage Sale. The only other good part of Garage Sale was the end.
Yes. Like the very, very end?
Not roll credits.
Oh, no. I meant when there's the beans that he keeps messing with, and he goes and waters them, and then Jim rolls out actual trees 5 minutes later. That was great.
That was great. But before that, the big moment of the show, we've been building to this proposal. Season. Yeah, that you got to admit.
Yeah. So I actually in my comments here, because I wasn't there on the show yet. There's all the Ryan bottling his mom's pesto with Phyllis's picture, and then his mom's salsa with Oscar's picture, because he's just
that's cute.
Yeah, taking everything. So Pam jumps before we get to the proposal, right? So Pam picks Oscar, Ryan, and Jim to help plan out the proposal.
Right.
Why those are the 3 people you would pick, I have no idea. Like, it's the worst lineup ever. So you pick the guy that proposed at a gas station, the guy who hates everything but drugs, and Oscar, who hates Michael. So weird. The only person worse would have been to bring Toby in to help plan the wedding. So then they all get on Jim because his proposal was crap. Then Holly tries to propose to Michael.
Yeah.
And then we get into, and they go through the office, and everybody starts proposing to Holly.
That's kind of cool.
Where she says no to each one of them. Probably the best scene in the 7.5 seasons. Is my note here.
Okay.
They spent 3 years' salary on a ring because that's the right amount.
Right.
The candles that they have set up set the fire alarm off, and then they propose to each other as Yoda.
Right, which
was a callback because they talked to each other like that when she was on years ago a few times.
Yes.
And then because her parents are suffering from dementia at this point, it seems, which she didn't know because I guess she never talks to her parents until Michael asked to get proposed to her. And then they're going to move to Colorado. So now we set up the slow roll of Michael finally leaving the show, which was like not quick.
No.
They
This
dragged this out.
this was all in between. This is all at the beginning of February. So February 2011, and then into March, and then into April, and then Goodbye Michael is the very end of April.
Yeah,
April 28th, 2011.
Wildly long drag out of this. So we get Training Day with Will Ferrell, who I didn't know what. I didn't remember he was even on the show.
Yeah. So Will Ferrell is by all accounts the worst part of The Office, according to the fans that like the show.
Well, so my first notes on this is Will Ferrell guest for the cold open clearly doesn't stay because he's not in the credits. But they go to the office drunk and somehow they didn't know who was even who with the camera crew there shooting both of them at the bar, and they didn't put together. But that's fine because when they remember the crew's there when it's convenient and they forget.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's fine. So I just realized about Dwight. I have no idea why he puts up with anything that happens to him at the office. Because he is loaded.
Well,
and owns the farm and all these other beat businesses and the building and all this stuff, but somehow still puts up with like shit from every single person that works at or runs the office.
He's got one single thing that he's always wanted to do, and that's it. One thing.
Yeah, but I feel like he could just open an office with his own business and make himself the manager. Thoughts? You get Kelly trying to hit on D'Angelo instead of a meet cute. Toby is still in court somehow. All this time. Daryl's goatee is magically back, by the way. It was still not there in the last episode, but now magically his goatee is back. So you can tell. I don't know what he was filming there. If it was Hot Tub Time Machine, maybe. I feel like this was right around that stretch.
Nah, not yet.
Hot Tub Time Machine's 13 years old. It's got to be. And I know that you will check while I say the next couple of things. So
2010. So maybe.
Yeah, this is 2011, right?
Yeah, maybe.
So Hot Tub Time Machine. This might be Hot Tub Time Machine 2.
No, Hot Tub Time Machine 2 is later down. Is later.
All right.
It was a long.
But you get the bit with Coach and Aaron how to answer the phone, which was fine. Trying to get Andy to make a joke, and because Andy's the office funny guy, and he starts off with a really racist one, and then we get into
okay.
Yeah, that's cool. Fun Facebook stuff. So then, Michael tries to turn everyone against D'Angelo, and then at the end tells him how good he is. The getting shaved in the middle of the office is kind of weird. Like the power move of it was the whole episode was weird. Then we get Michael's last Dundies.
I don't know why that didn't work there. I'll go take care of that.
So we get Michael's last Dundies. They go house to house at 6 a.m. to give out these stupid nominations. But when they get to Toby's house, they egg the house instead.
Which is
so interesting with the opening credits, because I started paying attention to this in the same stretch. There is no names in this opening credits for this episode.
No?
Because it's interesting to watch and I'm sure there's a YouTube video somewhere of all the opening credits for The Office and who's featured and who isn't. Because half the time they feature Novak, and that's it, and none of the other supporting cast.
Oh.
It's interesting to go through and look at who's in the opening credits and who isn't.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it's usually opening credits for The Office and who's featured and who isn't. Steve Carell, and look at Jim, Dwight, Pam, and that's it. So, and every once in a while they will list another cast member in the opening credits. So that's fun. And we get back to the Dundies. Michael's trying to get D'Angelo to co-host. So it's Will Ferrell doing Will Ferrell things, which work in Will Ferrell movies. And that's about it.
Yeah.
As a bit. So I understand why people that dig the show didn't dig him, because he's just on the show doing Will Ferrell.
Yeah, it didn't. I mean, I didn't hate him, but.
Yeah, and we don't get a goodbye to Holly. She's just gone now. Which is weird. I don't know what she ran off to go do, but all of a sudden, I feel like she got written off for something else sooner than Carell.
She may have gotten a movie or something.
Yeah, because out of nowhere, like, oh, I'm moving to
Yeah.
Colorado, and then she's just gone.
Yeah. So go
And
ahead
Toby's back.
with this episode.
Jim wins the best dad Dundee because they're stupid. Meredith wins best mom, which was great.
Right.
Oliphant wins hottest in office because
Which
we
made
remembered he's there again.
Which made what's his name angry, and then we needed to get a picture of the best mom and the best dad.
Yeah, Pam gets pissed off that Jim. They want a picture of the best mom and best dad, and she's like, "Why?" He's like, "Remember, he's there. Why not? I got to."
Yeah.
Aaron gets the cutest redhead for whatever reason, and then decides to break up with Gabe.
Like right there.
Yeah, over the mic, and then Gabe gets up on the mic and cries, and then they get kicked out of the restaurant. So they go back to the office, and they do a Rent song in tribute of Michael and his last Dundees.
So that moment was completely unscripted. Stephen Carell had no, so his tears there and his shock was genuine. They did that for him without him knowing, and like put that all together for him. That's cool for that.
That's kind of them.
Yeah. This is probably one of my favorite episodes overall.
It had moments. It had moments. Didn't love it, but like I said, it had some times in it that were better than some of the other ones had been through this. And then you bring up Toby at the end to give him the repulsiveness award. And then he gets off his rant about how he has doubts about their verdict in the case of the Strangler. And okay, great.
So this is kind of neat that when they were finished, his goodbye gift was a hockey jersey with the number 1, his number on the call sheet. So after he left the show, they no longer used the number 1.
Oh, well, that's nice.
That's cool. This was
so wait, who was 2? Episode. Was it Jim or Dwight?
I don't know. This was a 50-minute episode, not a normal 30-minute.
Which one was?
This Dundee episode.
It was how long?
2 parts.
No, that wasn't 2 parts.
Originally, it was going to be 2 parts.
Oh, that one was
this is supposed to be a 50-minute.
Oh,
yeah.
I did not notice that it was that long, but I'm watching it all on Peacock, So
yeah.
Is the Dundees 2? I don't think the Dundees is 2.
No, Dundees is.
No, it's a single episode.
Yeah, it was a
Goodbye Michael is a 2 episode.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at Goodbye Michael.
Yeah. That was a double shot.
Supposed to be a. Yeah. Never mind. Go ahead.
So Goodbye to Michael, which I burned through the rest of that, and then I stopped. Like I said, I didn't want to.
Goodbye Michael.
I knew this section was already going to be long enough getting through this stuff.
Yeah, Goodbye Michael wasn't bad. The scene with Jim was cool.
So you get the Gabe threatening Andy to start off to stay away from Aaron.
That's weird.
You get the party planning committee, which is now Pam, Phyllis, and Angela, plus Meredith snuck in, who just wants everything to be boobs and porn cakes.
As it should be.
Just fine. Michael gives gifts around the office, including giving Andy the top 10 accounts. So then the rest of the episode, we watch Andy completely shit the bed on repeat. Until D'Angelo goes, and I can't tell if he and D'Angelo going to the client and losing the client, which is, I'm just going to lump these 2 episodes together because there's not a lot in the first part, actually. They go to an animal shelter to get psyched, and then D'Angelo completely blows the sales meeting. And Andy goes back in and wins it. So I don't know if this is Andy's going to all of a sudden remember how to sell or figure out how to sell or what's going on there. We'll see.
We'll have to see.
I enjoyed getting David back for a minute when Michael calls him to ask him about if he's making the right decision. David's like, no. What are you doing? It's an awful decision. Like,
he thought he got fired.
Oh my God, it was great. And then Toby calling his brother Rory Flenderson instead of Toby Henderson. So I don't know why, different last name. I was like, okay, you could have just been Rory, but it's fine. And it seems the same way and wants to do all sorts of nice things for Michael, which we know Michael will be a dick. You get Gabe following Aaron into the women's bathroom, which is weird. But I did appreciate that they call back to Creed still using the women's bathroom.
Yeah.
To do his business. That's great. You get Michael giving Dwight a recommendation letter finally, and they do the paintball challenge. That was fun. Pam pricing shredders leaves, so she misses Michael because we prove again that Pam is still awful.
I knew this episode came back on in like, they repeat them all and I'll put it on while I'm playing the
Yeah.
game. And I saw that and I'm like, oh, he's going to love that part.
Because then she's going to the movies during work hours because she's a shitty employee and just an awful person. At least she turned her phone off during the movie. So, like, there's that little bit there.
Yeah.
Dr. Matt Studio, hey, how's it going?
Hello for Britain.
I think it's been a minute. I think you used to stop by.
Yes.
Weird transvestite joke about Gabe.
Yeah.
That totally doesn't hold up.
Does not hold up.
And then Michael saying goodbye as Ping, his Asian character, also does not hold up.
It doesn't work.
And then you get Jim and Michael with an actual like heartfelt goodbye, which was surprising, but well done. And that's where I was like, oh, that's where that meme pic is from.
Yeah.
Of him getting so upset. And then Pam finally decided to show up to work, I guess, at some point. And then she sprints to the Scranton airport, which was nice, all silent. And then,
so that scene,
yeah,
because he didn't have his pack on, they asked her what you said. So in the past, they've asked her what's in the teapot, right? Jim had that envelope that he pulled out of the teapot,
yeah.
And they've never said what was on that letter, like even after the show ends. But when they asked her, what did she say to him? She said, that was me and Steve having a moment. That was real tears. That was me saying goodbye to him without the camera picking it up. We just had a moment together that they were able to capture. That's nice. Like out of the show, having a moment.
And then the episode ends with D'Angelo yelling at the cake because he used to be fat and now he's skinny. Again, all the Will Ferrell stuff is just Will Ferrell doing Will Ferrell things.
It is.
Which is whatever.
We get another episode of Will Ferrell next week.
Yep. I know. I have 3 episodes left this season. Like I said, I didn't want to finish it because I already had too much to go over this week. We're just trying to burn through those. So, all right. So we have some news. Some things happened.
Regular news. A quick box office. A quick top 5 box office here.
Yeah.
We have Lilo and Stitch holding high at number 1 spot again, pulling in another 3-day total, 63 million. It's got 280 million in its second weekend domestic. Mission Impossible 2 pulled in 27.3 and now has 122.6 domestic. And
500 million to go.
Well, that's only domestic.
No.
Coming in at number 3, Karate Kid Legends pulled in 21 million to beat out Final Destination Bloodlines and Bring Her Back.
Yeah, that's look, it's where it should be, I think, based on the films that are out there. And for I know I talked about Lilo and Stitch last week, but like the online discourse about this is wild.
Yeah.
The number of people that have not seen this movie or have not looked at this or are making all these comments about this movie and about the content like need to just shut their mouths.
Karate Kid only had a budget of about 45 million, so it's probably going to make its money back. Meanwhile, Mission Impossible has a budget of up to 400 million.
Wow. Yeah.
That's got a long way to go.
It does. Yeah. Look, and we're gonna both try and catch Mission Impossible in the next week or two. Sinners I will probably buy or rent tomorrow or this week as the other big blockbuster that's actually come out this year, because I don't count Thunderbolts as a blockbuster because it just kind of showed up and disappeared because they screwed up their marketing plan so bad.
We had one of the trailers that debuted at CCXP was the Gen V Season 2 trailer. They're going to debut so good. It on September 17th. 3 episodes will be released on the premiere date, followed by weekly episode drops leading up to the finale on October 22nd. I don't know what the F's going on.
Oh, it looks so good. Look, it looks like there's probably going to be, what I bet happens is these 3 episodes tell us what happened while they were away and what happened while they were locked up.
Right.
And then by the end of that, they are back in what is it? Not Goddard. whatever it is.
Oh yeah, the school.
They're back at the school.
Godolkin.
Godolkin, yeah, Godolkin. They're back at the school, and we go from there.
Yeah.
So that's probably why they're going to drop the 3 at once to get us to that point.
Yeah.
I don't love dropping
no
3 episodes at once.
I hate that,
especially for an 8-episode season.
Yeah, it's hard. It's rough. We got Bill Lawrence talking at this year's ATX Television Festival. Let slip another person that's joining Shrinking. We already have Harrison Ford starring. We have Jason Segel. We have the cast around him is great. Now you have Michael J. Fox coming in, which I think is going to be great. And 5-time Emmy winner Candice Bergen is joining the cast.
Oh.
That's great. I mean, there's just...
Yeah. Did you watch the Murphy Brown reboot?
No, I don't care. I didn't watch Murphy Brown the first time, so I'm good with that.
Oh, well, that was where all her Emmys came from.
Yeah, well...
She actually bowed out of the Emmys for Murphy Brown after a couple years because she said, I'm tired of winning. Let somebody else win.
I mean...
and Jeff Daniels is coming in this season too.
Jeff Daniels is coming in as Jason Segel's character's father.
So I bet Candice Bergen's the mom.
That's possible. That's possible.
I hope they don't let the guest stars get distracted. The story.
No. Same. That was one. I think that was one you told me to start, right?
Yeah.
And after the first episode, I was like, I'm binging this entire thing. It was a really great run. Tony Gilroy, the showrunner of Andor, confirmed the budget of season 2. Just a little bit expensive, right?
I thought that was the whole series.
Is it the whole series?
I think it's the whole series, but still.
650 million for 24 episodes.
So when you break it out though, right? So realistically we had 24 episodes, so we had 8 movies. So not a crazy budget for 8 movies worth of content, because every 3 episodes was a movie quality.
I mean, so if you look at it, Obi-Wan and Ahsoka cost about 90 to 100 million per season. One season of The Mandalorian cost 120. The Acolyte had a $231 million budget. So
they could do 3 seasons of that for the price of Andor.
Yep.
Let's bring back the Acolyte. Let's do another season. Let's
just
recast the whole thing.
I still think it was worth it. Andor.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed on that for the Andor front.
I have 3 more quick little things before we get into the finale that aired that I actually get to talk about.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill, while I was talking about Star Wars, has revealed that he doesn't ever want to play Luke Skywalker again. He wants Star Wars to move on past the Skywalkers, cast new people, do new things.
Agreed.
I agree with that as well. I don't need, if you're gonna have him pop up in this older stuff. No, Matt, I actually didn't rewatch Rogue One yet. I
rewatched the first half hour.
I will, but
it's wild because you're like, oh, that's who he met.
Yeah,
that's where he went.
I'll do that probably this weekend. But I agree with what he's saying. If they want to go backwards and do stuff, that's cool. But there's no reason to have Luke in anything in the future. Mention him, but don't bring Luke back.
No, I mean, use Yoda as your through line.
You can.
I think is probably their best play if they're going to do old stuff. Like they ended up with the spoiler for the last episode of The Acolyte where you get to see Yoda. But like using him as your through line because he lived for hundreds of years. So you can pull all sorts of different stories.
You can. And you can also recast Luke to show him as a younger person. You don't need Mark Hamill to do it.
Look, I don't know that I need more Luke stuff.
I would like to get actual Luke stuff. Like if you're going to go back and do stuff in that timeline, I want to see actual at the height of his power Luke stuff. Not just the cameo we got in The Mandalorian, but I want it to be good Luke stuff.
Yeah, I think they'll have to delete out all of the sequels then, because you get that Luke was right. It wasn't long that Luke was doing anything because Ben, Kylo Ren was probably 15, 20, maybe when he left the academy, right, and burned down the academy and all that. So like, you don't get a long
you get about
time of
7
Luke,
years.
huh?
You get about 7 years.
Yeah, like that's
of
not
Luke.
a long time.
No, but you can do.
Especially when we saw 3 of them on The Mandalorian, was just him sleeping on a planet with Grogu.
That's true. Now that's cool. Dr. Mad Studio met a lot of the cast for Rogue One, and that's kind of awesome.
Yeah, I bet there's some, based on how many people are British that are in that movie. There's a lot that go to the cons over there that we do not get in the States. And if they were coming to Philly, they'd just cancel. So
we have I can skip that. So the last thing I wanted to mention is James Gunn. People were saying something to him about Fantastic Four and Superman coming out at the same time, and at the same month, and he basically just asked people to like step back, and there's room for both movies. You don't have to like dog on one to make another one better. There's room enough for both movies, and I think that's a good way to put that.
Agree. I think it depends on where you're at, money wise, right? Because like if you're taking out like a family and you're not to see one of these, because they should both be family-ish movies, you're a couple $100.
Yeah.
So depending on where you're at financially, though, like that's a big ask to do 2 of those nights out like back-to-back weeks. I think is where a lot of the concern from some of the critics, especially the ones that like are doing these interviews that are like 30, 20, late 20s in LA and can barely afford rent. That are like, oh my God, how am I going to afford?
I'm going to see Fantastic Four, and I'll probably get a popcorn bucket or 2 for them, depending on what they are. And I'm definitely getting whatever the popcorn bucket is for Superman, because it's Superman. And I don't know if I told you this, but I think I'm going to take my kid to see it. I'll go see it like the day it's released because of spoilers. And then I'll take him probably that Saturday if it's in 4DX. I want to see it in 4DX because I've never seen a movie that way. That's
usually my play. I saw with the seeing it myself and then taking the family. The 4DX thing. I saw a Lego movie at the Plymouth Meeting Mall.
And how was that?
It was fine. So then, and we talked about Wheel of Time getting canceled last week, right?
We did. We mentioned it got canceled. Matt is very upset about that. You're not happy about that. Even me, who is an avid book reader of the Wheel of Time and very sour on the first season, I really, really grew to really enjoy it in the second and third season. And there's a lot of, and I mentioned this before, there's a lot of scenes from the books that we're not going to get to see, and it's a real shame because there's some really awesome stuff that ends up happening.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a show that somebody else picks up.
I think it's too expensive to pick up. I think it really, I always said it should have always been done animated because you can keep the actors forever and you can do it long term.
Yeah.
Yes, we are going to talk about Doctor Who. I stopped watching Doctor Who way back in the Tom Baker days when I was a youngster. I tried to watch it with Cobra Commander when he was
Christopher Eccleston.
Christopher Eccleston. So I didn't get through maybe 3 or 4 episodes of that before I was like, I can't do this. It just wasn't for me. Jack promised to watch all of The Office, and we were looking for something for me to watch to kind of balance that out. And I watched this current season of Doctor Who, and I don't know what the F I watched, but I enjoyed the episode. I enjoyed the season.
Yeah, give us your season, your overall season thoughts, Frank. Nobody's heard anything about Doctor Who from you yet.
I thought Nakuti Gatwa.
Shooty,
I'm sorry. I'm so horrible with names. I thought Shooty I thought he was such a pleasure to watch in that role. He just it the range of emotion that he was able to show and the enthusiasm for not having watched anything prior. I didn't watch Matt Smith. I didn't watch Peter Capaldi. I didn't watch any of the other Doctor Who's. I thought he did an absolutely great job of just. I don't know what the right word I'm looking for is. It's just he seemed to enjoy the role so much. And
Yeah,
you
look, he's a pretty boy that's easy to watch.
and he just his acting, he enjoyed the role, he embraced it, and I thought it was great. And the ending, I have no idea what that. I understand the lure of the Doctors regenerating, and I had to go back and I had to look at a whole bunch of other stuff on how he became the Doctor. That was he 14?
No, I think he's 16th.
Is he 16?
It's weird. The timelines. It's timey-wimey stuff. It's complicated.
I know, but it was. I had to
Because
do
David Tennant was technically 10 and 15.
14. Tennant's 14. I'm as I'm looking at it.
Got it. Okay.
So he's 14. Jodie was 15. So
No.
Jodie is 16. Right?
No.
No?
Tennant
No,
was before and after. He was
Okay,
after
so-
Jodie.
I'm sorry. He is 15.
Yep.
He's 15. And I didn't get all the. I assume that the finale was filled with cameos of past people.
So there's a couple of those. So in the finale, spoilers for Doctor Who from the end of season 2, episode 8. So you get a lot of callbacks from a lot of different spots. They introduced Mel, who was a companion back in the 80s.
Okay.
They brought her back with David Tennant this last stretch of the specials last year.
Okay.
As one of the previous companions. They brought in multiple companions back through this stretch, which has been neat. In the Christmas special this year, you got the Time Hotel was introduced. So you
Right.
get
I
the
saw that
character.
episode.
Did you watch that episode?
I watched the Time Hotel. That was a fun.
Cool.
episode.
All right. So you knew who she was.
Yes, I
Because
got her.
otherwise, I would have been like, I don't understand anything that's going on here.
No. I understood her. I understood who she was.
So that was I didn't expect her at all.
Okay.
Back in here, because usually they will just leave somebody from one of those and not ever touch on them again.
Right.
So Russell Davies has done a really nice job of intertwining things back and forth with all of this Doctor Who lore from forever, because Mel was the companion in the 80s for a hot minute.
Okay.
When the Ronnie was introduced.
Right.
So like they pulled back multiple things from that era, so that's why they pulled Mel in probably and brought
Gotcha.
her back, because he had this long game Russell Davies did since the first episode back with David Tennant and with Ruby, with Shudigatwa, to pull in the Ronnie and do that over the span of 2 full seasons, with just having Mrs. Flood in there as Easter eggs every episode.
Gotcha.
So, and that goes all the way back. You know, they did a different guest with a character that was Susan in this one. That was the cleaning lady is how they presented her in this one.
Okay.
She was a big player in the entire first season.
I see.
That was getting pulled all these different ways by one of the I forget, was Second or something was the bad guy in season 1 that they pulled back in. So they've done a lot of really cool stuff with that. And then we get, you got a lot of other callbacks, like The Well was a callback to a David Tennant episode, which was like one of their horror episodes. But that's the thing with Doctor Who, right? Like you get every episode has a completely different feel to it.
Right.
Which I'm sure was the thing you're watching. You're like, this
Right.
is not the same show that I watched last week, right?
No.
Because you get Lux, which is basically like the cartoon, weird kind of horror, but kind of funny.
Yeah.
Into the Well, which is a horror episode, 100%. Into Lucky Day, which was Ruby Sunday, which you didn't know much about Ruby Sunday or anything. So you get her, and that's a break from the whole thing and kind of a standalone, isolated story, it feels like.
Right.
Right? But definitely is not. And then you came back in with the Interstellar Song Contest, which pulls back into like Britain's Got Talent, basically, which is Eurovision show.
Mhm.
And you get all these other little pieces from other things and those pieces. Then you get Wish World, which is a complete departure from everything else.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yep. And you get that with Doctor Who once in a while, where it's like reality resets and you have to kind of level set back from it. And then you get the Reality War, which is where we ended up this last episode, right? With Ruby still coming into play from first season of this, and all of the playing there. I liked what they did with the finale quite a bit, and how they pulled back in all those different pieces.
Right.
And it was extra long, which they wouldn't have done on the BBC. So having it with the Disney, typically they would not have done that. So having it with the Disney Plus piece makes a big difference. And I thought they played it well. And then they bring back, as the next regeneration, not necessarily as the next Doctor.
Right.
You get Billie Piper, who was Rose from that Christopher Eccleston era.
Her, I remember.
That you were talking about, right? She was the first companion back, and she's played multiple things throughout the stretch. Like in the 50th anniversary, she played in as a visualization of a machine, of a dream machine.
Right.
And wasn't Rose. She was that incarnation of that machine.
So from what I was reading, Disney Plus hasn't signed on and said they're going to take them for another season, but they're going to do another season regardless, probably wherever they air it, I guess in the BBC, right? Over in the UK.
Yeah, it's weird because Disney bought the rights, but like all of the previous episodes are on Max.
Okay. So it again, from what I read, I could be wrong, is it doesn't look like it's coming back until 2027 because they haven't even started writing new stuff yet for the next thing. And they, again, as far as I read, when they regenerate, the new Doctor is always listed in the credits. And like you said, Billie Piper wasn't listed as the Doctor.
Correct.
She was just listed.
But this regeneration was different than any regeneration has been because all of the regeneration stuff went into the TARDIS, and Rose had some very unique relationships with the TARDIS and the way it was characterized through everything.
And Shooty's regeneration originally was a bi-generation.
Yeah, that was a new thing they just made up.
Right.
To not kill off David Tennant so that if they need to pull him back in for things,
which is one of the rumors. But again, it's so early. The show just ended. There's nothing. Nobody knows anything for sure. They probably don't even know what the hell they're doing yet. That
I bet you Russell T. Davies has at least another season already mapped out and planned for whatever he's doing. But I don't know who, because this is also the first time, which was what was great to me about it. It's the first time the new Doctor wasn't spoiled like a month beforehand or 6 months beforehand.
What I can't say if I'm going to watch the next season when it comes around. We'll see what happens. I'll probably still be waiting for something Marvel related that hasn't shown up yet, or Star Wars related that hasn't been filmed or written or talked about yet. I enjoyed what I watched, but I have no desire to go back and catch up. Like there's shows that I'll watch and I'll go, oh, okay, I want to go back and watch all that. But it was fun. I mean, I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, look, every Doctor brings something different into it, and everybody, depending on when they start watching it, has kind of their Doctor through it. David Tennant's was brilliant in all sorts of different ways than this, but he did the funny, he did the quirky, he did, all of those pieces. Matt Smith's was a lot of people's in the current day's Doctor,
right?
Including our friend Brandy, that was impressed that you managed to go through and watch. Which, look, Matt Smith's era was different. It was a lot more sci-fi and spacey than some of the other ones have been, where it got really cosmic in a lot of things and a lot bigger episodes, especially with the companions that he had, because like Amy Pond, Karen Gillan, That was her
Right.
stretch, and
Right.
Amy and Rory Arthur Darville, who was in the first season of Legends of Tomorrow. Um, so those two as companions on there, and that run kind of set a lot of stars up out of it that have done a lot of things since then. Peter Capaldi's he was my favorite Doctor through all this stretch, but he has
Okay.
Heaven Sent is one of my favorite episodes of television ever,
Oh,
which is during his stretch. And Jodie Whittaker, who also made an appearance in this finale.
yes.
This was the best she ever acted the Doctor.
Oh, really? I know. I
And I
remember.
think the difference was in the writing.
I remember when she was on before. You were not as enthused about her episodes.
Yeah, and I always wanted to like her, but the writing was so bad for her, I could never get into it. And I think, there's been some critiques about the woke level that Davies has worked into everything.
Yes.
Like Rose that you got in this, who he saw Rose who had disappeared, right? Because she wasn't supposed to exist and he couldn't have imagined her.
Right.
When he said that,
Hmm.
Cyril couldn't, or whatever his name was, Conrad couldn't have imagined Rose. She was Donna Noble's daughter, who was introduced back in the specials with
Okay.
David Tennant last year or
Okay.
2 years ago. But like, there's a lot of things like that where we're introduced, and there was a lot of complaints about it. But I think Russell T Davies worked it all in, and not as ham-fisted as a way as Chris Chibnall did, which made for better storytelling. And it was just like, this is just part of the story, not like I'm going to teach you a lesson about this.
Right.
But it was just more natural reactions to things that he played through.
Hmm.
And just the overall writing was much better. But this was the best version of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor that there was through all of her specials and episodes and everything. So that was great to see.
Yeah. We'll see what happens when it comes back around again. I'm going to finish off the Big Bang Theory. I'm in middle of season 11 or 10.
Nice.
10.
I'm gonna get somewhere into season 8 of The Office and keep burning through this stuff, and then I got some other stuff to go.
I have to find something new. I was thinking about doing Modern Family, but I'll talk to you in texts and maybe we'll come up with something else to watch.
We'll figure it out because you've never seen Modern Family, right?
Not just clips online,
Oh,
and
it's
the
so
clips
good.
are funny. I might. I
Such a good
kind
show.
of want to do Schitt's Creek.
We could both do that. I never watched Schitt's Creek either.
Ooh, I'll have to wait for you to finish The Office, of course.
Working on it. So thanks everybody for finding the Geek Spot. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining the conversation. You can always find us on Facebook and Instagram at Geek Spot News. You can find me at Jack Kid Music. You can find Frank at Gimzak. Drop us a line, and if you're listening to the audio version, drop us that rating, review, all those things to help spread the word. And we will catch you all next time. Thanks.
Bye.